The Gift of the Woodi is a really brilliant episode of Cheers. This is the 19th episode of the 7th season. It is, of course, directed by the wonderful James Burrows, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts. And it starts off with, interestingly, a cold open that actually appears later on in the episode as well, which I quite liked. Cliff is talking about his latest vegetable discovery. And this is a rutabaga and a beet. It's a beetabaga, which I have to say is a great name. And we'll come back to that a little later on. Woodi is then dressed very smartly. The corporation is having a big lunch. And obviously he's concerned he's going to bump into people such as Kelly's father. And Sam, at Woodi's insistence, helps him do his hair. He pulls out loads of stuff from under the bar, which is very, very expected for Sam. And then Mr. Gaines comes down from Melville's and he invites Woodi to Kelly's birthday party, which I think is a bit strange. Unless it was a surprise party, there was kind of no indication of that being the case, but why wouldn't Kelly be the one to invite Woodi? Maybe it was a surprise. And then Rebecca decides that she's finally worked out why she's not getting anywhere with the company. And it's because she's too attractive and everybody thinks she is, and I quote, a sex kitten. And she asks Lilith to help her develop a more business-like appearance. And we'll come back to that as well in a little bit. But I really enjoyed that part of the narrative as well. And Woodi has decided he's going to give Kelly the gift of laughter. He's going to give her a book. And everybody's saying you can't give her that, you can't just give her a book, they're all going to give her expensive gifts, they're going to laugh at you. And Frasier suggests giving her something from the heart. And he starts to tell a story of how he once wrote a poem and recited it to his love. And I think it was very, very obvious that this poem was not for Lilith. And Frasier had confused in his mind for whom he had actually written that poem. I wish we got a Diane mention. We could have had a Diane mention there. It's not necessary. I just get very giddy whenever Diane gets mentioned. But I think it was very obvious that Lilith had never heard it before, and I rather liked her response to it. And I liked Frasier's response to finding that out as well. And then we cut to the party, and Kelly is opening a gift from an uncle. He got her a new Mercedes, and then they decide to all go outside and look at all of Kelly's new cars. And then she realises Woodi hasn't given her her gift yet. And I will say that Kelly definitely comes across as being very, very materialistic. Not just that she doesn't understand that she has money and other people don't, but that she actually gets satisfaction from material things. And I'm wondering if that's because she's never had the opportunity to get satisfaction from other things, such as true love. And the love language of her family is, of course, giving gifts. And maybe she's not had genuine affection in her life, and the only way she knows to receive affection is through material possessions. I'm saying that because I don't like her personality, and I never really liked her as we go on with the show. I won't talk too much about that, but I'm also acknowledging that it's not necessarily her fault. This is how she has been raised. And she obviously makes everybody aware that Woodi hasn't given her her gift. So he says that he's written her a song, and conveniently there is a piano in the room, and he goes to the piano and he plays this beautiful song. And I mean, some of the lyrics aren't great, but in general it's a really lovely tune. I really enjoyed listening to it, and he gets to the end of it and it's a really beautiful moment. Kelly says she likes it, and then she says, "So where's my gift?" And I'm not surprised that we immediately cut to the bar, or Woodi is having his 11th sip of beer because he just wants to forget this. He ran away from the party, and it's obviously a very heavy moment because Kelly didn't see the gift, the beautiful gift, for what it was. Carla goes on about how she hates rich people. Woodi lifts the mood up a little bit by commenting that Carla sweats a lot. And then Sam points out that Kelly was born into this. It's not her fault, which I guess is what I was trying to say. She may be materialistic. She may not see the value in genuine, heartfelt gifts, but it seems like that she's never had that opportunity. Nobody, including her family, they've never given her heartfelt gifts. There's always been money and materialistic things, and Woodi is giving her a chance to realise that there are more special things out there. We then go into the office, And we get a couple of seconds before we get the reveal as we see Lilith in there. Carla goes in and Rebecca is getting changed into her more business-like outfit. And she comes out dressed very much like Lilith. And honestly, it's a sight. And I really, really like it. And Carla happens to remark when she's back at the bar to Lilith, "This is like a nightmare I had once." And Frasier responds so innocently, "You too?" I thought it was absolutely adorable. Cliff is then talking more about his Bebe concoctions. Somebody at the other side of the bar says he'd like to try the things that Cliff has cooked from his Bebe. And, well, this person may not be completely sound of mind. And then Kelly comes in as Cliff is leaving. And, well, Woody tries to explain to her that the song was the gift. And Kelly says it's like a riddle. And if she solves the riddle, she'll find out where he's hidden her gift. Which in itself would be a great fun present. If that was the case, I think that's a lovely gift. A song with a riddle in it to find the gift. That's really sweet. It's not a bad idea. But unfortunately, she's just not accepting what Woody is saying. And she ends up leaving. And Sam basically says to Woody, "Well, what can you do? It's not like you can empty your savings account just to buy her some expensive jewellery." Woody doesn't realise that Sam is saying you shouldn't do that. And off he goes, just as Rebecca scuttles back to the office dressed as Lilith. And then we come to the final scene, and Kelly is actually at the piano trying to play her Kelly song. Clearly she's not happy with how things were left, and I think she's starting to realise that there was genuine value in the song, in that beautiful, heartfelt gift. And Woody gives her a pendant. And she still doesn't understand. And at this point, I feel like she was being a bit thick, being a little bit stupid. There's not understanding that somebody doesn't have the same amount of money as you, and then they're just being really dim and not seeing things that are right in front of you. And it doesn't really say a lot for her character, because she asks where the chain for the pendant is, and Woody said he'll get it to her in, I think he said 18 payments or something. And she said, "Well, let's just go and get it now. We can take my new car." He says, "I don't have any money." And she says, "Well, you can get some money out." And she's just not getting it. And I'm assuming she had a really great education, the best that money can buy, I'm assuming. And yet she's still being really dense. And I feel like they're maybe pushing it a little bit too far. I feel like maybe it's a little bit too unbelievable. And I feel like by this point she would have realised that Woody doesn't have the money that she does. So I don't necessarily believe that she's this stupid, that she cannot understand the words Woody is saying. I guess they were doing it to push it further, to make it funnier, but I just think it's kind of unrealistic, unbelievable. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody in Kelly's position just genuinely is so dense they can't comprehend it. Maybe that's the case, but I don't believe it. I don't buy it, but I also don't like her as a character. It's not that she's a bad person, and that's what makes it so frustrating. How can I dislike her when she's just naive and a little bit thick and unable to comprehend other people's situations because she's so wrapped up in her own world, and that's not her fault. She is a product of her upbringing. But I dislike her, and it's not her fault, and I feel kind of guilty about that because she genuinely seems very sweet, just a little bit lacking in common sense and basic intelligence. She might have book smarts, but she certainly isn't very clever when it comes to actually comprehending the words that people are saying. I'll say no more than that. But finally, she gets it. And she does an honourable thing and tells Woody she can't accept the pendant if it's going to hurt him. And I think that was a really lovely moment. And, well, she hugs him and realises she was being quite shallow. Finally, things are getting through to her. And she hugs him and says she couldn't believe how shallow she was going to be by getting him a Porsche for his birthday. And, well, we end with some comedy bringing that back up there as Woody didn't hear anything else she said after Porsche. And, well, it's an interesting point as well. Well, I don't necessarily think the episode's making this point, but it does make it quite a fascinating discussion to have. If he can't give her gifts that other people can, should she then match that and get him something heartfelt? Or is it okay for her to get him a Porsche, even though he can't return that level of gift? in terms of monetary value? I don't have an answer for that. I don't know if there's a right or wrong. But it does make me wonder, if I were ever in a relationship with somebody who was exceptionally wealthy, would I feel right accepting, for example, a Porsche? I can't drive, but let's imagine I can, when I can't get them anything even close to that. I don't know. I would feel really bad, but at the same time, if that's what they want to do, then they should be allowed to bestow expensive gifts onto people. I'm going off on a tangent now, but that's what that made me think of at the end of that episode. And I guess that is a lot of why people think that relationships where there is such a huge financial divide can't work out, because there's a lot of confusion about what's right and wrong and morally sound, and whether somebody should accept expensive gifts when they can't give the same. It's an imbalance. And when you have an imbalance in a relationship, it's not always going to work. And I guess this is the difficulty we're seeing with Woodi and Kelly. I guess I've basically just summed up the entire episode there with that little tangent. It's a good episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Personal highlights would have to be Cliff and his Bebe. I just love the name. I think it sounds brilliant. And Woodi in general, just how he presented himself here. We had a great range of emotions, not a lot of positive emotions for Woodi, but there's a lot going on here. The song, absolutely beautiful. Really thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. And, well, of course, Rebecca dressed as Lilith, I really liked as well. Solid episode, very, very thought-provoking. It doesn't paint Kelly in the best of lights, but as I said, I don't believe it. I think they took it further than is believable. I think she would have realised just what Woodi was trying to say when she came into the bar, and Woodi had to explain to her he works because he needs the money to live, not because it's cute. So I don't like her, but I also think they stretched it further than they should have done. But that aside, really solid episode. The gift of the Woodi is, of course, a pretty brilliant episode of Cheers.